Dad, your mom's last hope. The trembling little voice cut through the silence of his office at 11 p.m. Chester almost ignored the call from an unknown number, but something made him answer. Who is this? His voice came out cold, distant. My name is Olivia. Olivia Larkin. My mommy is really sick and she said you're her last hope. Please, sir. I need your help. The last name hit Chester like a physical blow to the stomach. Larkin. Melissa Larkin. The name he hadn't heard in 8 years, but one he'd never, not for a single second, been able to forget. The woman he'd loved with every fiber of his being before he destroyed everything with pride and ambition. Melissa, he whispered, feeling the walls he'd built around his heart begin to crack. What happened to your mother? Between desperate sobs, the 7-year-old girl explained. She's in the ICU. The doctor said it's sepsis. She was working too much and ignored the symptoms because we didn't have money. Now she might die and I don't know what to do. She gave me your old number before she passed out and said you were a good man, that if anyone could help us, it would be you. Chester closed his eyes, memories flooding his mind like a broken dam. Melissa working herself to exhaustion. Melissa alone. Melissa with a daughter he never knew existed. And now, Melissa dying. Where are you? He asked, already grabbing his car keys. Phoenix General Hospital ICU, room 304. I'm on my way. Olivia, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. His voice broke with emotion. Nothing bad is going to happen to your mother, I promise. What Chester didn't know in that moment was that this phone call wouldn't just save Melissa's life. It would reveal a secret buried for 7 years. A secret that would transform that brave little girl into the most precious thing in his life. His own daughter. Before we continue with the story, tell us where you're watching from and how old you are. I hope you enjoy the story. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 28th floor corner office, each droplet catching the glow of Phoenix's city lights below. Chester Brock sat behind his mahogany desk, the blue light of his computer screen casting shadows across his handsome but worn face. At 29, he looked older, the kind of aging that comes not from years but from grief that settles deep in your bones and refuses to leave. His dark brown hair, usually perfectly styled, was slightly disheveled from running his hands through it during the last conference call. The Rolex Daytona on his wrist, a gift from Avril on their first anniversary, caught the light as he reached for his third cup of cold coffee that evening. The expensive black Armani suit he wore fit perfectly, tailored to his athletic frame, but it felt like armor. Everything in Chester's life felt like armor these days. It had been 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days since the accident. 3 years since the drunk driver had run the red light. 3 years since Avril's red Honda had been crushed like a tin can. 3 years since Chester's world had ended at the intersection of Camelback and 24th Street. Since then, he had become a ghost in his own life. He worked 16-hour days, sometimes sleeping on the leather couch in his office rather than returning to the Paradise Valley mansion that still smelled faintly of Avril's jasmine perfume. His company, Brock Technologies, had grown exponentially under his obsessive leadership, but Chester felt nothing. No pride, no satisfaction, no joy, just the endless gray fog of existence without purpose. The clock on his desk read 11:17 p.m. Most of Phoenix was asleep, but Chester had forgotten what a normal sleep schedule felt like. He was reviewing the quarterly reports, numbers blurring together on the screen, when his phone buzzed. The vibration against the glass desk made him jump slightly. He'd been so lost in the void of his own thoughts. Unknown number. Chester's finger hovered over the decline button. He got spam calls constantly, people trying to reach the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company. But something made him pause. Some instinct, some whisper from the universe that his life was about to change forever. He swiped to answer. Hello? For a moment, there was only the sound of breathing, quick, panicked, the breathing of someone trying not to cry. Then a small voice, trembling and desperate, cut through the silence. Mr. Chester Brock? Chester sat up straighter, his business instincts kicking in. A child. This was a child calling him. Yes, this is Chester. Who is this? My name is Olivia. Olivia Larkin. The girl's voice cracked on her last name, and Chester heard the distinct sound of hospital intercom in the background. I'm so sorry to call you so late, but I didn't know what else to do. My mommy is really, really sick, and she said you're her last hope. Please, mister, I need your help. The name hit Chester like a physical blow. Larkin. Melissa Larkin. His hand tightened around the phone, knuckles going white. For 8 years he had locked that name away in the deepest vault of his heart, buried under layers of guilt, regret, and carefully constructed walls. Melissa. The girl with green eyes that sparkled like emeralds when she laughed. The woman who had owned his heart completely before he threw it all away for an MBA and a career. Melissa, he whispered, and her name on his lips felt like prayer and confession all at once. What happened to your mother, Olivia? The little girl was crying now, trying to speak through sobs that broke Chester's heart. She's in the hospital. She collapsed at work today. The doctor said she has something called sepsis. They said it's really bad. They said she might. The girl couldn't finish the sentence, her cries becoming too strong. Chester was already standing, grabbing his car keys from the desk drawer, his movements automatic. Every cell in his body was screaming at him to move, to run, to get to her. Olivia, I need you to take a deep breath for me. Can you do that? Big breath in, big breath out. He heard the girl trying to follow his instructions, her breathing shaky but steadying slightly. Good girl. Now where are you right now? Phoenix General Hospital, Intensive Care Unit, Room 304. Olivia's voice was small and scared, but there was steel underneath. She was her mother's daughter, clearly. Please come, Mr. Brock. Mommy told me before she passed out that if anything happened to her, I should call you. She said you were a good man. She said if anyone could help, it would be you. The words struck Chester like arrows, each one finding its mark in his chest. After everything, after the way they ended, after 8 years of silence, Melissa still trusted him, still believed in him. The weight of that trust was crushing and liberating all at once. I'm coming right now, Olivia. I promise you, I'm on my way. Everything is going to be okay. You promise? The little voice was so hopeful, so desperate. I promise. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Chester grabbed his coat and ran. He didn't bother waiting for the elevator, taking the stairs 2 at a time, his expensive dress shoes echoing in the concrete stairwell. His mind was racing faster than his feet. Melissa was in Phoenix. Melissa was sick. Melissa had a daughter. Melissa had thought of him. The parking garage was nearly empty at this hour. Chester's Aston Martin DB11, midnight blue, Avril's favorite color, sat in its reserved spot. He'd bought it the year after she died, some misguided attempt to feel something, anything. Speed was supposed to be thrilling, but he'd found it as empty as everything else. Tonight, though, as he roared out of the garage and onto the rain-slicked streets of Phoenix, he felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Purpose, fear, hope. The toxic cocktail of emotions that meant you had something to lose again. The drive should have taken 30 minutes. Chester made it in 17, weaving through the sparse late-night traffic with the kind of reckless precision that would have made his insurance company weep. The Phoenix General Hospital loomed ahead, a massive concrete structure lit up like a beacon in the darkness. Chester abandoned his car in the emergency parking lot. Some valet could deal with it later, and sprinted toward the entrance. The antiseptic smell of the hospital hit him immediately, bringing back memories he'd rather forget. The weeks after Avril's accident, sleeping in waiting room chairs, the constant beeping of monitors, the look on the doctor's face when he said, "I'm sorry, we did everything we could." Chester shook his head, forcing the memories down. This wasn't then, this was now, and Melissa needed him. He found the intensive care unit on the 3rd floor. The fluorescent lights were harsh, making everything look washed out and surreal. A tired-looking nurse at the station glanced up as Chester approached, his expensive suit in obvious distress making him stand out. "I'm looking for Melissa Larkin, room 304, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The nurse checked her computer. Are you family? I'm... Chester paused. What was he? An ex-boyfriend from nearly a decade ago? The man who broke her heart? Her daughter called me. I'm here to help. Something in his face must have convinced her, because she nodded toward the hallway. Down the hall, last room on the left. But sir, she's very weak. She might not be conscious. Chester nodded his thanks and walked down the corridor, his heart hammering in his chest. Each step felt like walking through water, time stretching and compressing around him. What would she look like? Would she hate him for showing up? Did she really want him here, or had Olivia misunderstood? Room 304 had its door partially open. Chester stopped in the doorway, and what he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Melissa lay in the hospital bed, and she looked so small, so fragile. Her blonde hair, once vibrant and full of life, was spread across the pillow, dull and limp. Her skin had a grayish pallor that made Chester's stomach turn. She was connected to what seemed like dozens of machines, each one beeping and hissing, keeping her alive through sheer mechanical will. An oxygen mask covered her nose and mouth, fogging with each shallow breath. But what truly broke Chester's heart was the little girl sitting in the chair beside the bed. Olivia was 7 years old, though she looked younger, curled up in that chair like she was trying to make herself disappear. She wore a red dress that had seen better days, wrinkled and stained with what looked like hospital cafeteria food. Her blonde hair was pulled back in pigtails that had mostly come undone, and her green eyes, so much like her mother's, were swollen and red from crying. She was holding her mother's hand with both of hers as if she could keep Melissa tethered to life through sheer force of will. Chester must have made a noise because the little girl looked up. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then recognition dawned on Olivia's face. She'd probably seen old photos. And she scrambled out of the chair and ran toward him. You came. You really came. Olivia threw her arms around Chester's waist, and he could feel her tiny body shaking with relief and exhaustion. Chester knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. Up close, he could see the exhaustion written on her young face, dark circles under her eyes, worry lines that no 7-year-old should have, tear tracks on her cheeks. Of course I came, Olivia. I made you a promise, didn't I? She nodded, wiping at her eyes with the back of her hand. I didn't know if you would believe me. I found your old phone number in Mommy's drawer. She keeps it in a box with some photos and letters. I wasn't supposed to look, but I was scared, and I didn't know what else to do. You did exactly the right thing, Chester assured her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. You were very brave. Now can you tell me everything that happened? Start from the beginning. Olivia took a shaky breath and nodded. Mommy has been working a lot lately, like a lot. She's a nurse here at this hospital, and she's been taking extra shifts. Sometimes she works 2 shifts in a row. She said we needed the money for my school and for rent and stuff. I told her she should rest more, but she just smiled and said she was strong. Chester felt a pang of guilt. If he had known. If he had been there. She started getting sick about 2 weeks ago, Olivia continued. She had a fever and a cough, but she said it was just a cold. She kept taking medicine and going to work anyway. Yesterday, she seemed really bad. She was so tired, and her skin felt like fire. But she still went to work this morning. And then, the little girl's voice broke again. Then I was at school and the principal came to get me. They said Mommy collapsed during her shift. They brought her here to this room. The doctor said she has an infection in her blood called sepsis, and it's really serious. Chester felt cold dread settling in his stomach. Sepsis. He knew enough to know that was life-threatening. What did the doctors say about treatment? Olivia's expression crumpled. They said they're doing everything they can, but she needs special treatment. Some kind of experimental medicine that might work better. But it costs $300,000, and we don't have that kind of money. Our insurance won't cover it because it's experimental. The doctor said without it, she might only have a few days, and even with the regular treatment, her chances aren't good. $300,000. Pocket change for Chester, but a fortune for a single mother working as a nurse. The injustice of it all made him furious, but he pushed the anger down. There would be time for that later. Olivia, look at me. Chester waited until the little girl met his eyes. I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say, okay? I promise you, on my life, that your mother is going to be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen to her. Do you understand? Nothing. But the money. I have the money. I have all the money we need and more. Your mother is going to get that treatment, and she's going to get the best doctors in the entire Southwest taking care of her. We're going to save her, Olivia. I promise you. Fresh tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks, but these were different. These were tears of hope, of relief so profound it hurt. She threw her arms around Chester's neck, holding on tight. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chester hugged her back. This little girl he'd just met but already felt protective of. Over her shoulder, he looked at Melissa lying in that bed, and he made a silent vow. I'm here now, Mel. I'm not leaving. Not this time. I don't care what it takes, what it costs. You're going to live. You have to. He gently pulled back from Olivia. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I need to talk to the doctors right now. Can you stay here with your mom for a few minutes? Olivia nodded, wiping her eyes. You won't be long? 10 minutes tops. Then I'll come back and we'll figure everything out together. Okay? Okay. Chester stood and walked to Melissa's bedside. Up close, she looked even more fragile. He could see the small movements of her chest as she breathed, the flutter of her eyelids as she dreamed or fought or both. Without thinking, he reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Her skin was burning hot, the fever raging through her system. I'm here, Melissa, he whispered, not caring that she probably couldn't hear him. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry for everything. But I'm here now, and I'm going to fix this. I swear to you, I'm going to fix this. Then he turned and went to find the doctors, ready to move heaven and earth if that's what it took. The attending physician on Melissa's case was Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an exhausted expression. Chester found her at the nurse's station, reviewing charts. When he introduced himself and explained he was there for Melissa Larkin, she looked up with a mixture of professional courtesy and barely concealed stress. Mr. Brock, I'm glad someone is here for Miss Larkin. She's very sick, and she's going to need support. What exactly is her condition? Chester asked, his business voice kicking in. Direct, no-nonsense, demanding information. Dr. Martinez sighed and pulled up Melissa's chart on the computer. Miss Larkin came in with severe sepsis that has progressed to septic shock. She has a bacterial infection that entered her bloodstream, likely from an untreated urinary tract infection she'd been ignoring for weeks. Her body is essentially in system-wide failure. Her blood pressure is dangerously low, her organs are struggling, and her white blood cell count is through the roof. What's the prognosis with standard treatment? The doctor's expression darkened. Not good. Maybe 30% survival rate. And even if she survives, there could be organ damage, amputation of extremities due to reduced blood flow, long-term complications. She's young and was healthy before this, which works in her favor, but she let it go too long. And with the experimental treatment? The new protocol, it's a combination of advanced antibiotics, immunotherapy, and a new drug that helps regulate the immune response. In trials, it's shown a 75% survival rate with significantly reduced complications. But it's expensive, and insurance companies are balking at covering it until it gets full FDA approval, which could be months away. How much? The full treatment course would be around $300,000. Chester pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. Within seconds, he had initiated a wire transfer. You'll have $500,000 in the hospital's account within the hour. Put her on the experimental protocol immediately. And I want the 3 best infectious disease specialists in Arizona on her case. I don't care what you have to pay them or what schedules you have to rearrange. And move her to a private suite with the best equipment you have. Dr. Martinez stared at him, mouth slightly open. Mr. Brock, that's incredibly generous, but I need to make sure you understand the risks. Even with the experimental treatment, there are no guarantees. I understand. But doing nothing is not an option. When can you start the treatment? If the money comes through, we can start within the hour. I'll need her consent form signed, though. She has a DNR preference and medical proxy in place. Everything goes to her daughter since she has no other family listed. She has family now, Chester said firmly. She has me, and she has her daughter. We're going to be there for every step of this. Draw up whatever papers you need. I'll sign them as her medical proxy if the daughter is too young. Just save her, Dr. Martinez. Please. The doctor nodded, something like hope entering her tired eyes. We'll do everything we can, Mr. Brock. Let me call the specialist now. Chester returned to room 304 where Olivia was sitting beside her mother again, singing softly. He recognized the tune. You Are My Sunshine. Old and sweet and heartbreaking in context. Olivia, he said gently, and she stopped singing. The doctors are going to start the special treatment soon. They're going to move your mom to a nicer room with better equipment. They're bringing in the best doctors. She's going to fight this, and she's going to win. Olivia stood up, and for the first time since Chester arrived, she smiled. It was a small smile, fragile as spun glass, but it was there. Really? Really? Now I have a question for you. When was the last time you ate something or slept? The little girl looked down at her feet. I had some crackers from the vending machine for dinner. That was around 6, I think, and I slept a little in the chair last night, but the nurses kept coming in to check on Mommy, so I kept waking up. Chester felt his heart clench. This child had been going through hell, and she'd been doing it alone. Okay, here's what's going to happen. The doctors are going to be working on your mom for the next few hours, getting her started on the new medicine and moving her to a better room. You and I are going to go get some real food, and then you need to sleep. Properly. In a bed. But I can't leave Mommy. Your mom is in good hands right now. The best hands. And you know what she would want? She would want you to take care of yourself. Because when she wakes up, she's going to need you to be strong and healthy, not exhausted and starving. Olivia looked torn, glancing between Chester and her mother. I tell you what, Chester said, crouching down again. We'll go get food and come right back, and I'll arrange for a cot to be brought into your mom's new room so you can sleep near her. But you need to eat and rest. Deal? After a long moment, Olivia nodded. Deal. They found an all-night diner a few blocks from the hospital. The place was nearly empty, just a few night shift workers grabbing coffee and pie. Chester and Olivia slid into a vinyl booth, and a weary-looking waitress brought them menus. Chester watched as Olivia studied the menu with intense concentration. She was biting her lower lip, a gesture that tugged at something in Chester's memory. Melissa used to do the same thing when she was thinking hard about something. You can order anything you want, Chester told her. Don't worry about the price. Olivia looked up at him, and there was something old in her young eyes. Mommy always says I should order from the kids' menu because it's cheaper. Tonight, you order whatever sounds good. You've been through a lot. You deserve something special. In the end, Olivia ordered chocolate chip pancakes with whipped cream and strawberries even though it was nearly midnight. Chester got a burger he didn't really want but knew he should eat. They sat in silence for a few minutes after the food arrived, Olivia eating with the focused intensity of someone who was truly hungry. Mr. Brock, she said after she'd made a significant dent in the pancakes. Can I ask you something? You can call me Chester. And yes, ask me anything. Mommy has your picture in a box in her closet. You're both really young in it and you look really happy. Were you and Mommy friends? Chester felt his throat tighten. We were more than friends, sweetheart. We dated for a while, a long time ago. Before you were born. Did you love her? The question was so direct, so innocent, that Chester couldn't do anything but answer honestly. Yes. Very much. Why did you stop being together? I made a mistake. I had a chance to study in another country in England and I took it. Your mom and I tried to stay together, but the distance was hard. We ended up saying things we didn't mean and we hurt each other. And then we lost touch. I always regretted that. Olivia absorbed this information, taking another bite of pancakes. Mommy doesn't date. People ask her sometimes, but she always says no. I asked her once why, and she said she already had the love of her life. And that was me. But sometimes I catch her looking at that picture of you two and she looks so sad. Chester had to look away, blinking hard. Your mom is an amazing woman, the strongest person I've ever known. And she raised an incredibly brave, smart daughter. You should be very proud of her. I am. Olivia paused. Are you married, Mr. Chester? I was. My wife's name was Avril. She died 3 years ago in a car accident. Oh. Olivia's face fell. I'm sorry. That must make you really sad. It does. It did. I've been sad for a long time. Maybe you don't have to be sad anymore, Olivia said with the simple wisdom of children. Maybe you and Mommy can make each other happy again. Chester reached across the table and gently took her small hand. Maybe we can, Olivia. Maybe we can. They returned to the hospital to find that Melissa had indeed been moved to a private suite on the 4th floor. The room was spacious and well-appointed, more like a hotel room than a hospital room. There was a comfortable couch that pulled out into a bed, a private bathroom, and large windows that would let in sunlight come morning. Melissa looked no better, but she didn't look worse either, and Chester chose to take that as a good sign. She was surrounded by new equipment, including a dialysis machine to help her struggling kidneys. 2 nurses were monitoring her constantly, adjusting IV drips and checking vitals. Dr. Martinez came in shortly after they arrived. We've started the protocol. The first 48 hours are critical. If she responds well to the treatment, we should see improvement. If not, she didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. She'll respond, Chester said with more confidence than he felt. She's a fighter. I've brought in Dr. James Silverman from the Mayo Clinic. He's one of the world's leading experts in sepsis treatment. He'll be here first thing in the morning. For now, she needs rest, and so does this young lady. The nurses brought in a comfortable cot and set it up for Olivia. Someone had also brought children's pajamas and a toothbrush. Chester made a mental note to thank whoever had thought of that. Olivia changed in the bathroom and brushed her teeth, then climbed into the cot. Chester sat in the chair beside Melissa's bed, pulling it close so he could hold her hand. Her skin was still burning hot, but her breathing seemed a little more even. He traced his thumb across her knuckles, feeling the roughness of hands that worked hard, that saved lives, that raised a beautiful daughter alone. Mr. Chester? Olivia's voice was small in the darkness. Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for coming. Thank you for saving Mommy. You saved her, Olivia. You were the one brave enough to make that call. You saved your mom's life tonight. Will you stay? Until she wakes up? Chester looked at Melissa's face, peaceful in sleep, and he knew with absolute certainty that he wasn't going anywhere. I'll stay as long as you need me to, as long as your mom needs me to, I promise. Good, Olivia said, and within minutes her breathing had evened out into sleep. Chester sat in the darkness, listening to the beep of machines and the soft breathing of the little girl across the room. He thought about the strange twist of fate that had brought him here. If Olivia hadn't been brave enough to call, if he hadn't answered the phone, if Melissa hadn't thought of him in her desperate moment. I'm here now, Mel, he whispered into the quiet room. And I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. You hear me? You have to fight. You have to come back. There's so much I need to say to you. So much I need to make right. The machines beeped their rhythmic response and Chester closed his eyes, holding on to hope with both hands. The next morning arrived with pale sunlight filtering through the blinds. Chester had dozed fitfully in the chair, never letting go of Melissa's hand. He woke to find Olivia already awake, sitting on her cot and watching her mother with worried eyes. Has she woken up yet? The little girl asked. Not yet, but the nurses say her vitals are stabilizing. That's a good sign. Dr. Silverman arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes. He spent an hour examining Melissa, reviewing her charts, consulting with Dr. Martinez. When he finished, he pulled Chester aside. Mr. Brock, I'll be honest with you. Miss Larkin is very sick. The infection caused significant stress to her organs, particularly her kidneys and liver. But she's young. She was healthy before this, and we caught it just in time. The experimental protocol is working. Her inflammatory markers are already starting to drop. If this trend continues, I'm cautiously optimistic. How long until she wakes up? That's hard to say. We have her sedated to let her body focus on healing. We'll try to bring her out of sedation in a few days if her numbers keep improving. The next 72 hours are crucial. Chester nodded, absorbing this information. Whatever she needs, whatever it costs, just save her. We're doing everything we can, Dr. Silverman assured him. The days that followed blurred together into a strange routine. Chester essentially moved into the hospital room, only leaving for quick showers at his nearby hotel and to handle urgent business via laptop and phone calls. His assistant, Monica, was bewildered by his sudden absence, but handled things with her usual efficiency when he explained he was dealing with a personal emergency. Olivia couldn't stay in the hospital 24/7. She had school, she needed normalcy. Chester had an idea. How would you feel about staying at my house while your mom is in the hospital? I have plenty of room and it's only about 20 minutes from here. We can come visit your mom every day after school and I'll bring you first thing in the morning before school starts. Olivia looked uncertain. I don't want to be a bother. You could never be a bother, sweetheart. In fact, I'd really like the company. That big house gets pretty lonely with just me in it. And so Olivia came to stay at the Paradise Valley mansion. The first time Chester drove her through the gates, her eyes went wide as saucers. The house was a modern architectural marvel, all glass and white stone with an infinity pool that seemed to drop off into the desert vista beyond. You live here? Olivia breathed. By yourself? I do. It's too big for one person, really. My wife Avril designed it. She was an architect. Chester showed Olivia to the guest room, which was larger than the entire apartment she shared with her mother. The bed was a 4-poster king. There was an ensuite bathroom with a soaking tub, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. I've never had my own bathroom before, Olivia said in wonder. Well, now you do. Make yourself at home, okay? This is your room for as long as you need it. That evening, Chester attempted to cook dinner. He'd been living on takeout and whatever Monica brought him for 3 years, so his culinary skills were rusty at best. He decided to try making spaghetti. How hard could it be? Very hard, as it turned out. He burned the garlic bread, overcooked the pasta until it was mush, and somehow managed to get tomato sauce on the ceiling. Olivia found him in the kitchen, surrounded by chaos, looking utterly defeated. She started to giggle, then laugh, and soon she was laughing so hard she had to sit down on the kitchen floor. Chester looked at her, then at the disaster around him, and he started laughing too. When was the last time he'd laughed? Really laughed? He couldn't remember. Okay, he said, wiping his eyes. How about we order pizza? That sounds perfect, Olivia agreed. They ate pizza on the back patio, watching the sun set over the McDowell Mountains. Olivia told him about school. She was in 2nd grade and loved reading but found math challenging. Chester told her about growing up in Phoenix, about how he'd met her mother at a coffee shop when they were both young and full of dreams. What dreams did Mommy have? Olivia asked. She wanted to be a nurse, which she is now. But more than that, she wanted to help people. She has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. She always saw the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. Like you? Olivia asked with innocent directness. Chester smiled sadly. Yeah, like me. Do you think she'll forgive you? For leaving? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so. But even if she doesn't, I'm going to be here for her. For both of you. That's a promise. They visited Melissa every day. Chester would pick Olivia up from school, and they'd spend the afternoon and evening at the hospital. Chester would work on his laptop while Olivia did homework at the small table in the room. They'd eat dinner together in the hospital cafeteria, then return to sit with Melissa. Chester talked to Melissa constantly, even though she couldn't respond. He told her about Olivia's days at school, about funny things that happened, about the beautiful daughter she'd raised. He told her about his own life, about Avril, about the emptiness that had consumed him. I've been so lost, Mel, he whispered one night after Olivia had fallen asleep on the couch. When Avril died, I thought I'd lost my chance at happiness forever. I buried myself in work because it was easier than feeling anything. But being here with Olivia, taking care of her, waiting for you to wake up, it's like I'm finally alive again. It's terrifying and wonderful all at once. On the fourth day, Dr. Silverman made an announcement. Her numbers are looking good. Really good. I think we can try bringing her out of sedation tomorrow. She should wake up naturally over the next 12 to 24 hours. Chester felt his heart leap. He called Olivia's school and explained that she'd need to miss the next day. Her mother was waking up and she needed to be there. The process of reducing the sedation was gradual. The medical team carefully adjusted medications throughout the morning. Chester and Olivia sat vigil, waiting for any sign of consciousness. By late afternoon, Chester was beginning to lose hope that it would happen that day. Then Melissa's fingers twitched. Just slightly, but Chester felt it. He'd been holding her hand. Olivia, I think she's waking up. They both watched intently as Melissa's eyelids fluttered. Her face scrunched up slightly like someone waking from a deep sleep. Then, slowly, her green eyes opened. She looked confused at first, disoriented. Her eyes moved around the room, trying to make sense of where she was. Then she saw Olivia. Ollie! Her voice was barely a whisper, rough from the breathing tube that had only been removed that morning. Mommy! Olivia was at her side instantly, carefully hugging her mother. You're awake. You're really awake. Baby, what? Melissa's eyes moved past her daughter and she froze. Chester. Her voice saying his name, even weak and confused, sent electricity through Chester's entire body. Hey Mel, welcome back. Am I dreaming? Tears were already starting to fall from her eyes. Is this real? It's real, Mom, Olivia said, gently wiping her mother's tears. You were really sick. You had sepsis. I called Mr. Chester, and he came right away. He saved you, Mommy. He paid for everything and brought the best doctors, and now you're going to be okay. Melissa looked between her daughter and Chester, trying to process this information. You came. After everything, after all this time, you came. Chester moved closer, kneeling beside the bed so he was at eye level with her. Did you really think I wouldn't? Melissa, when Olivia called and told me you were sick, nothing could have kept me away. Nothing. Fresh tears spilled down Melissa's cheeks. I'm so sorry. For what I said all those years ago, for pushing you away. Stop, Chester said gently, reaching out to brush away her tears. We both said things we regretted. We both made mistakes. But that's in the past. Right now, all that matters is that you're alive. You're going to recover. And we're going to figure out the rest together. Together? Melissa's voice was hopeful and afraid all at once. If you'll let me. I've missed you, Mel. Every single day for 8 years I've missed you. I missed you too, she whispered. Even when I was angry, even when I tried to move on, it was always you. It's always been you. Olivia looked between the two adults, a smile spreading across her face. Does this mean Mr. Chester can stay? Like forever? Chester and Melissa both laughed, the sound mixing with tears. We'll take it one day at a time, Melissa said, squeezing her daughter's hand. But yes, I think Mr. Chester is going to be around for a while. Good, Olivia declared, because he's terrible at cooking and he needs someone to teach him. That broke the tension, and they all laughed together. For the first time in 8 years, Chester felt something he thought he'd lost forever. The feeling of being exactly where he was supposed to be. The next weeks were a whirlwind of recovery and reconnection. Melissa's improvement was remarkable, a testament to her strong constitution and the excellent medical care Chester had provided. Within a week, she was sitting up in bed, eating real food, and growing stronger by the day. Within 2 weeks, she was taking short walks around the hospital floor with Olivia and Chester supporting her on either side. They talked for hours. About the years apart, about Avril, about Melissa's struggles as a single mother. She told him about finding out she was pregnant, about Derek, the man she thought was Olivia's father, abandoning her the moment she told him. I was so scared, Melissa admitted one afternoon while Olivia was at school and Chester was visiting during his lunch break. 20 years old, pregnant, alone. My mother helped as much as she could, but she passed away when Olivia was 3. After that, it was just the two of us against the world. I wish I'd known, Chester said. I wish I'd been there. You were in England, building your life. I didn't want to be the girl who trapped you with a baby that wasn't even yours. Nothing about being with you would have felt like a trap, Mel. But I understand why you didn't reach out. We both needed to become who we are now. Tell me about Avril, Melissa said softly. I want to know about the woman you loved. Chester was surprised by the request, but grateful for it. She was kind, gentle. She saw me at my worst. I was pretty messed up when we met, drinking too much, working too hard, trying to forget about you. She helped me find balance again. Our marriage was good, comfortable. But I won't lie to you, Mel. There was always a part of my heart that I couldn't give her, a part that still belonged to you. Did she know? I think so. She never said anything, but sometimes I'd catch her looking at me with this sad understanding. She deserved better than a husband who couldn't love her completely. Melissa reached out and took his hand. Don't do that. Don't diminish what you had with her. She was lucky to have you, just like I was, just like I hope to be again. You want that? Another chance with me? I want to see where this goes. We're different people now. We have baggage, scars, a whole history. But when I look at you, I still feel it. That pull, that connection. And Olivia adores you. I'd be a fool not to at least try. Chester brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. Then we'll try. No pressure, no rush. Just day by day. After 3 weeks, the doctors cleared Melissa to go home. There was just one problem. Going home meant returning to the cramped one-bedroom apartment in a not great part of town, the apartment where she'd worked herself to exhaustion trying to keep afloat. Come stay at my place, Chester said. Just until you're fully recovered. You have the guest room already set up for Olivia. I'll take one of the other guest rooms. You can have the master suite. It's on the first floor, so you won't have to deal with stairs. Melissa hesitated. Chester, that's too much. We can't. You can, and you will. Mel, you almost died because you were working yourself to death trying to make ends meet. You need time to recover fully without worrying about bills or rent. Please. Let me do this for you. For Olivia. Okay. Melissa finally agreed. But just until I'm back on my feet. Chester smiled, knowing that once he got them into his house, he'd find a way to make them want to stay forever. Moving Melissa into the Paradise Valley mansion was an adjustment for everyone. She was overwhelmed by the luxury. The endless rooms, the expensive art, the pool that seemed to float above the desert. But more than that, she was overwhelmed by Chester's presence in her daily life again. The first morning, Chester made breakfast. Well, he tried to. Once again, he managed to burn toast and scramble the eggs to rubber. Melissa, still weak but amused, hobbled to the kitchen to find him standing amid the chaos. Step aside, she said with a laugh. Let me show you how it's done. Working together slowly because Melissa couldn't stand for too long, they made a proper breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh fruit. When Olivia came downstairs and saw them cooking together, the smile on her face was incandescent. This is perfect, the little girl declared. This is what a family should look like. Chester caught Melissa's eye, and something passed between them. An understanding, a possibility, a future taking shape. Days turned into weeks. Melissa grew stronger, and the dynamic in the house settled into something comfortable and warm. Chester adjusted his work schedule so he could have breakfast with Melissa and Olivia every morning. Olivia flourished with both adults' attention. Her grades improved, she seemed happier, more confident. Chester taught Olivia to swim in the infinity pool. Melissa would watch from a lounger, wrapped in blankets despite the Phoenix heat, still recovering her strength. The sound of Olivia's laughter as Chester pretended to be a shark chasing her around the pool became the soundtrack of their days. In the evenings, they'd cook together, Melissa teaching Chester basic skills while Olivia did her homework at the kitchen island. They'd eat dinner together on the patio, talking about their days. It felt natural, right? Like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Melissa struggled with accepting Chester's help, her fierce independence warring with her gratitude. "I need to go back to work," she said one evening about 6 weeks into her recovery. "I need to pay you back for the medical bills." "There's nothing to pay back," Chester said firmly. "And you're not ready to go back to work yet. Dr. Silverman said at least 3 months of recovery." "I can't just live off your charity, Chester. That's not who I am." "It's not charity, Mel. It's—" He paused, searching for the right words. "It's taking care of someone I love. It's making up for lost time. It's doing what I should have done years ago." Melissa stared at him, her green eyes wide. "What did you just say?" Chester realized what he'd admitted, the L word hanging in the air between them. "I said I love you. I still love you. I never stopped, Mel. Not in 8 years, not even when I married Avril. You've always been the one." Melissa's eyes filled with tears. "Chester, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. Everything I'm doing because I want to. Because having you and Olivia here has made me feel more alive than I have in years. This house has been a mausoleum for 3 years. You two have brought it back to life." Melissa stood from her chair and walked around the table to where Chester sat. She cupped his face in her hands, looking into his blue eyes with an intensity that made his breath catch. "I love you too, you idiot. I've loved you since I was 20 years old and you walked into that coffee shop like you owned the world. I loved you when you left for England. I loved you when I was pregnant and alone. I loved you when I met Derek and tried to convince myself I could move on. And I love you now, sitting in this beautiful house watching you try to be a father to my daughter." Chester stood, pulling her gently into his arms. "Our daughter," he said. "She feels like ours." "Ours," Melissa agreed. And then they were kissing. 8 years of longing and regret and love pouring into that moment. From the doorway, neither of them saw Olivia peeking around the corner, grinning widely before tiptoeing back upstairs. Her plan was working perfectly. As summer turned to fall, the three of them settled into a rhythm that felt increasingly like a real family. But there was something Chester couldn't shake, a feeling that was growing stronger every day. He saw it in Olivia's mannerisms, in the way she bit her lip when concentrating, in her stubborn determination, in the shape of her eyes. One evening, after Olivia had gone to bed, Chester approached Melissa with a question that had been burning in his mind for weeks. "Mel, can we talk about Olivia's father?" Melissa tensed immediately. "Why? Derek is long gone. He's not in her life, and he never will be." "I know, but Mel, when exactly did you and Derek start dating?" "I don't know, maybe late February, early March, why does it matter? And when did you find out you were pregnant?" "Beginning of May." "Chester, why are you asking this?" He took a deep breath. "Because we broke up in late January. You found out you were pregnant in May. That's about 3.5 months. Mel, do the math." Melissa frowned, then her eyes widened as she understood what he was suggesting. No, Chester, that's impossible. Derek and I were together when I found out. I just assumed." "Did you ever do a paternity test?" "No, Why would I? Derek was the only person I was sleeping with at the time. But we were together in January. The timing fits perfectly. Mel, when I look at Olivia, I see so much of myself in her. The way she thinks, the way she moves, little expressions. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to upset you, but I can't shake this feeling." Melissa sat down heavily on the couch, her hand over her mouth. "Oh my God. Chester, are you saying you think Olivia is yours?" "I think it's possible. Very possible. We should do a DNA test." "But if you're right, Chester, that means I kept your daughter from you for 7 years. It means neither of us knew. You thought she was Derek's and I didn't know she existed. There's no blame here, Mel. But we need to know the truth. Olivia deserves to know the truth. After a long moment, Melissa nodded. Okay, let's do the test. But Chester, if you're right, this changes everything. I know, he said softly. Everything. They did the test discreetly, not wanting to get Olivia's hopes up until they knew for certain. Chester called in a favor with a private laboratory that promised expedited results. 5 days instead of the usual 2 weeks. Those 5 days were torture. Chester kept watching Olivia, looking for more signs, more evidence. The way she tilted her head when she was confused, exactly like he did. Her laugh, loud and unrestrained, so similar to his own. Even her love of reading and difficulty with math mirrored his own childhood experiences. Melissa was quieter than usual, processing the possibility that the man she'd loved all those years ago was the father of her child, that Olivia had been his daughter all along, a connection that transcended knowledge or paperwork. When the envelope arrived, Chester called Melissa down to his study. His hands were shaking as he held the manila envelope. Together? He asked. Together, she confirmed. They opened it together, reading the results side by side. Paternity test results. Alleged father, Chester James Brock. Child, Olivia Marie Larkin. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Chester's vision blurred with tears. She's mine. Olivia is my daughter. Melissa was crying too, overwhelmed by the revelation. All these years, she was yours all along. You have a daughter, Chester. You're a father. They held each other, crying and laughing at the same time. 7 years. 7 years of Olivia's life that Chester had missed. Her first steps, her first words, her first day of school. 7 birthdays, 7 Christmases. But also they had the future. They had now and forever. How do we tell her? Melissa asked, wiping her eyes. Honestly, she deserves the truth. That evening, they sat Olivia down in the living room. The little girl immediately knew something was up. Both adults looked nervous and excited and emotional all at once. Am I in trouble? Olivia asked cautiously. No, sweetheart, Chester said, kneeling in front of her chair. Not at all. We have something important to tell you. Something wonderful, actually, but also complicated. Olivia looked between them. What is it? Melissa joined Chester on the floor, taking her daughter's hands. Baby, you know how we've talked about your father, about Derek? The man who left us, Olivia said matter-of-factly. Well, it turns out that Derek wasn't your biological father. We did a test, and we found out who your real father is. Olivia's eyes went wide. Who? Chester cleared his throat, emotion making his voice rough. It's me, Olivia. I'm your father, your real, biological father. For a long moment, Olivia just stared at him. Chester's heart pounded in his chest. What if she was angry? What if she felt betrayed? Then Olivia started crying. But they weren't sad tears. They were the happiest tears Chester had ever seen. She launched herself off the chair into Chester's arms, nearly knocking him over. You're my dad? My real dad? Not the one who left, but you? You're my actual father? Yes, Chester said, holding her tight, his own tears falling freely. I'm your father, Olivia. I've always been your father. I just didn't know it. So that's why I'm good at reading like you, and why we both hate Brussels sprouts, and why I have that weird thing where I sneeze in bright light. Chester laughed through his tears. Photic sneeze reflex. I have that too. Yes, all of those things. Olivia pulled back to look at his face, her small hands on his cheeks. Can I call you Dad? Is that okay? Or is it too soon? Chester's heart felt like it might burst. Olivia, I would be honored if you called me Dad. Dad, she tested the word, then said it again with more confidence. Dad, Daddy, Papa, I have a dad. Melissa was crying too, watching her daughter and Chester together. Olivia pulled her into the hug, and the three of them stayed like that for a long time, crying and laughing and holding each other tight. That night, after Olivia had finally gone to bed, too excited to sleep, but eventually giving in to exhaustion, Chester and Melissa sat on the patio under the stars. "We have a daughter," Chester said, still marveling at it. "We always did," Melissa replied. "We just didn't know it. I've missed so much, Mel. 7 years of her life. I know. And I'm sorry. Don't apologize. You didn't know. If anyone should apologize, it's me for not being there from the beginning." Melissa leaned her head on his shoulder. "We can't change the past, but we have the future. We have now. I want to make this official," Chester said suddenly. "I want to adopt her legally, put my name on her birth certificate. I want the whole world to know she's my daughter. She'd love that. And I want to marry you." Melissa lifted her head, staring at him in shock. "What?" Chester turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. "I know we're taking things slow. I know we agreed to just see where things go. But Mel, I don't need time to know what I want. I've wasted 8 years. I don't want to waste another second. I love you. I've always loved you. You're the mother of my child, the love of my life, my soulmate. Marry me. Make this family official. Let me spend the rest of my life making up for lost time and showing you and Olivia how much you mean to me." "Chester, Melissa was crying again, but she was smiling too. "Yes, yes, of course, yes." Chester kissed her, tasting her tears and her joy. When they broke apart, he was grinning like a fool. "I don't even have a ring yet. I don't need a ring. I just need you. You're getting a ring anyway, the biggest, most beautiful ring I can find." True to his word, Chester took Melissa ring shopping the very next day. They brought Olivia along, making it a family affair. In an upscale jewelry store in Scottsdale, Olivia helped pick out a stunning emerald-cut diamond that matched Melissa's green eyes perfectly. "This one, Daddy," Olivia said, pointing to the ring. Chester's heart still skipped a beat every time she called him that. "That's the one," Chester agreed and slipped it onto Melissa's finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for her. They were married 3 months later at Camelback Mountain, the same place where Chester had first kissed Melissa 8 years earlier. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and Melissa's extended family. Olivia was the flower girl, wearing a white dress and a crown of flowers, beaming with pride as she walked down the aisle. When Chester saw Melissa walking toward him in a simple but elegant white dress, his breath caught. She was more beautiful than he remembered, more beautiful than in his dreams. This was his wife, the mother of his child, his forever. They wrote their own vows. Melissa went first, her voice steady despite her tears. "Chester, 8 years ago, we said goodbye. We both thought it was the end. But today proves that some loves are so strong, they find their way back no matter what. You've given me and Olivia a family, a home, a future. You've shown me what it means to be loved completely and without reservation. I promise to stand by you through everything, to build this life together, to honor what we had, what we lost, and what we've found again." Chester's voice was rougher, thick with emotion. "Melissa, you've been the only constant in my heart for nearly a decade. Even when we were apart, even when I thought I'd moved on, you were always there. You gave me the greatest gift I could ever receive, our daughter. You brought me back to life when I was just existing. I promise to spend every day proving that I deserve you and Olivia, to be the husband and father you both deserve, to never take a single moment for granted, to love you both with everything I have for all the days I have left." When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Chester and Melissa came together, and it felt like coming home. Olivia cheered loudly, making everyone laugh. "That's my mom and dad," she announced proudly to anyone who would listen. The reception was beautiful, a sunset dinner overlooking the valley, with dancing and laughter and joy. Chester danced with Melissa to their song, the same song that had been playing in that coffee shop when they met. Then he danced with Olivia, his daughter, who stood on his feet as he swayed her around the dance floor. "Are you happy, Princess?" he asked her. "I'm the happiest I've ever been," Olivia said, hugging him tight. "I have a mom and a dad who love each other and love me. That's all I ever wanted." "Well, you've got it, forever and always." The honeymoon was a week in Maui, just the three of them, because neither Chester nor Melissa wanted to leave Olivia behind. They built sandcastles, went snorkeling, watched the sunset from the beach every evening. Melissa and Chester would stay up late after Olivia fell asleep, making plans for their future, dreaming together like they used to. Life settled into a beautiful new normal after they returned. Melissa officially moved all her belongings into the Paradise Valley mansion, though she hadn't had much to move. Most of her and Olivia's things had been left behind in the tiny apartment. The mansion transformed under her touch, becoming a real home instead of a showcase. Photos appeared on walls. Olivia's artwork covered the fridge. Toys scattered across the living room. Chester legally adopted Olivia, a court proceeding that was really just a formality, but felt monumental. When the judge declared that Olivia Marie Larkin was now legally Olivia Marie Brock, Chester cried right there in the courtroom. Melissa returned to work part-time, but Chester had insisted on paying off all her debts and setting up a trust fund for Olivia's future. "You work because you love it, not because you have to," he'd said. And Melissa did love nursing. Helping people was in her blood. But now she could do it without exhausting herself, without the constant stress of unpaid bills. A year after their wedding, Melissa came to Chester with news that made his heart stop. "I'm pregnant," she said, holding up a positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. Chester stared at the test, then at his wife, then back at the test. "We're having a baby?" "We're having a baby." He picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing and crying. When they told Olivia, her reaction was exactly what they'd hoped for. Pure, unadulterated joy. "I'm going to be a big sister," she squealed, jumping up and down. "Can we name him Nathan if it's a boy? That was the name of the prince in my favorite book." "If it's a boy, Nathan sounds perfect," Melissa agreed. It was a boy. Nathan Chester Brock was born on a sunny April morning, 7 pounds and 3 ounces of perfect, healthy baby. He had Chester's dark hair and Melissa's green eyes, and when Chester held his son for the first time, he felt the same overwhelming love he'd felt when he found out Olivia was his. Olivia took her role as big sister very seriously. She helped with everything: diaper changes, bottle feedings, keeping Nathan entertained. She'd read to him in her best storytelling voice, sing him lullabies she made up herself, and tell him stories about how their family came to be. Once upon a time, she'd begin cradling Nathan in her arms. There was a brave little girl whose mommy was very sick. So the little girl called a man she'd never met, and he turned out to be a superhero. He saved the mommy, and then they found out he was the little girl's daddy all along. And they all lived happily ever after, including you, baby brother. You're part of the happy ending, too. 2 years after Nathan was born, on a quiet Sunday morning, Chester woke up early and found himself in the kitchen making breakfast. Actual breakfast this time. He'd finally learned to cook properly. With Melissa's patient teaching, pancakes were flipping on the griddle, bacon was sizzling, and he'd even managed to cut fruit without injuring himself. He heard footsteps on the stairs and looked up to see his whole family descending. Melissa, sleep-rumpled and beautiful, carrying 2-year-old Nathan. Olivia, now 11 years old and growing so fast it made his heart ache, bounding down with her usual energy. "Daddy's making breakfast," Olivia announced. "And it smells good, not burned." "I heard that," Chester said, but he was smiling. They gathered around the kitchen table. The same table where Chester had once sat alone, eating cold takeout and feeling nothing. Now it was full of noise and laughter and love. Nathan threw bits of pancake on the floor, making airplane noises. Olivia was telling them about the science project she was working on. Melissa was laughing at something Chester said, her eyes sparkling the way they used to when they were 20. Chester looked around at his family, the family that almost wasn't, that came back from the edge of impossible. He thought about that night 4 years ago when his phone rang. If he hadn't answered, if Olivia hadn't been brave enough to call, if Melissa hadn't fought to survive. But he had answered, and Olivia had been brave, and Melissa had fought, and now they were here. This beautiful, chaotic, perfect family. "What are you thinking about?" Melissa asked, noticing his faraway expression. Chester reached across the table and took her hand, then reached over to ruffle Olivia's hair, making her protest and laugh. "I'm thinking about second chances, about how sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. I'm thinking about how close I came to missing all of this." "But you didn't miss it," Melissa said softly. "You're here. We're all here." "We're here," Olivia agreed, grabbing Chester's other hand. "Together." "Together," little Nathan echoed in his toddler voice, not really understanding but sensing the importance of the moment. Chester squeezed his wife's hand and smiled at his children. Both of them, because that's what they were. His children, his family, his second chance, his everything. Outside, the Phoenix sun was rising over the McDowell Mountains, painting the desert in shades of gold and pink. Inside the Paradise Valley mansion that had once been cold and empty, a family sat together at breakfast, bound by love that had survived distance and time and pain to find its way home. Chester Brock had thought his life was over when Avril died. He thought he'd had his one chance at happiness and lost it. He'd been wrong. Because here in this moment, with syrup-sticky fingers and children's laughter and his wife's smile, this was happiness. This was life. This was everything he never knew he needed but couldn't imagine living without. And it had all started with a phone call. A little girl's brave voice in the darkness saying, "My mommy needs you. You're her last hope." Melissa had been his last hope too, though he hadn't known it at the time. Last hope at feeling again, at loving again, at living again. They'd saved each other. And in doing so, they'd created something beautiful. A family forged in crisis and sealed with love. A family that proved that it's never too late for second chances, that some loves are strong enough to survive anything, and that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected phone calls. Chester looked at his watch, the Rolex that Avril had given him, that he still wore in honor of her memory. He smiled, thinking that wherever she was, she'd be happy for him, happy that he'd found his way back to life, back to love. "Dad?" Olivia's voice broke through his thoughts. "You okay?" Chester looked at his daughter, his brave, beautiful daughter who had saved them all, and nodded. "I'm more than okay, Princess. I'm perfect." And in that moment, sitting at the breakfast table with his wife, his daughter, his son, and the future stretching bright before them, Chester Brock finally understood what it meant to be truly, completely happy. The end was really just the beginning. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this beautiful love story. Let us know what you thought of this tale full of emotions and surprises. Tell us your name, where you're watching from, and rate this story from 0 to 10 if it touched your heart. And if you enjoyed the plot, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the amazing new stories coming soon. See you next time.